you're saying.
Yeah, I don't think that's the Christian. I don't think that's the story of Genesis to Revelation. I just don't think it is. I think it is it is a distorted version of. I mean, I get it as in people need to personally be made right with God through Christ alone, and but it's like divorcing personal salvation from the story of the neighborhood. And so the story of salvation doesn't start with Genesis 1 and 2 about the garden like city in the form of a temple that fell apart and that God's trying to put back together. It's like there is no context for the story. It's like you didn't even have to write the whole story. You could have just written a story about people are screwed up and somebody came down and died, and you know, sign up for it and get your get out of jail free card. Well,
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
wait, what's all these other massive elements of the story about them? I mean, you just literally threw them all out, and
Mhm.
so there's not a cherishing of this world because the world, frankly, I hate to say it, but a lot of evangelical brothers and sisters, and I do think it's very sincere believers. You know, they don't realize how much, and at certain points in my life, I didn't realize how much they've been affected. Actually, Gnostic um, thinking, Western kind of enlightenment, scientific rationalism. Um, there's this view, this anti-physical view that the real great reality is the immaterial spiritual reality. We're supposed to be trying to pull a ripcord and escape this reality. And so the
Yeah,
world
that's
starts becoming like, I always say, it's like, do you treat a paper plate and fine china differently? Well, a lot of evangelical faith is treating the story of the world like it's a paper plate. You just throw it away.
mm,
And I'm saying, no,
okay.
no, this is fine china, baby. We're supposed
Okay.
to take care of it,
Yeah, yeah.
you know? And
I was really
so, but
lost.
I think it's that,
You were talking
huh?
about. I was really lost there for a second, thinking you were talking about the country and bringing this back around in a weird way. But you're talking
Oh,
about
no.
China, the glassware.
Yeah, yes, yes. China, as in fine china, the difference between
Yeah.
paper plates and fine china.
Yes.
Uh, so, one's just disposable and usable. It's utilitarian. You just use it up and get rid. Because the
Yeah.
story of the world didn't matter. Where you're like, wait a minute, creation, incarnation. He came. God came, became human. God took on flesh. God partied. God celebrated. God built tables. God and Abad ate and drank. He loved family, man. He was so physical and earthly. He was saying, I love this world. I created it. I will not give up on it. I'm going to put it back together. And so resurrection, what is the he is Jesus is physically embodied now. That is a dynamic connection between him and the earth. He's not throwing it away. He's not an escapist immaterial state. He is in a dimension, a heavenly dimension. His soul has re-inhabited his body. He is in physical form there. That is an incredible lifeline between him and the physical created order right now.
Yeah, that's
That
a
is
wild.
that's
I'll say that's a wild. That is a very uniquely wild aspect about
yeah,
this story that you're talking about too.
absolutely.
That overlays into this moment that we're in right now, and I guess maybe kind of a cool um, wrap up would be okay. So in this moment, looking at this meta story that you're talking about, that has as its center a God who values this physical and spiritual world that we're in so much that
Yeah.
he enters it and he starts putting it back together, beginning with his own resurrection.
Hmm.
That's pretty wild. Okay,
Hmm.
so that situates us right here in this moment. Um, and I guess I'd like two things. What does that mean for, like, if we're here in this moment, um, what does that mean for, you know, bringing it back to, I know, that, and you described well that it's not about my own death, it's about all the little deaths that happen between people and with relationships.
Hmm.
But can you bring it back to my own death a little bit too? I mean, I still care about that. And what how does it play out with two things? How does the resurrection flesh actually look like putting death back to life between me and a loved one, me and a friend? How does the resurrection look in that? And then can you also take it to how does it look with my actual physical body? Can you just flesh it out the best you can?
Yeah, well, I mean, I do think that uh,
In
you
60
know,
or less. I'm just kidding.
ours to cross the grave, the sky. So Jesus, he he heals us. He healed people on this earth both physically and spiritually. I mean, when he healed people's bodies, I mean, the psalmist says he forgives all our sins and heals all our diseases. So this holistic salvation, he wants to save the whole web. He wants to reunite us with God. He wants to reunite our body and soul. That is what he will do one day in the new heavens and the new earth. And he wants to fully reunite us with one another. He's into reconciliation. He's really into putting all these relationships back together. Me with God, me with every with others, me with myself. He literally wants to heal my psyche, my emotions, my soul. He wants to, you know, reintegrate the web that's been disintegrated by sin and rebellion and all the tragedy. He wants to put us back together in our relationship with the earth and with our callings in the world and what we do. He wants us to be fully alive as humans in every way, in all types of these relationships. So, but the Bible talks like there is a real, I mean, All Saints' Day matters. I mean, all this type of stuff. There is, the church is one foundation, yet she on earth hath union with God, the three in one, and mystic sweet communion with those whose rest is already won. So, um, this is the reason why we do Zoom. And man, we're meant to be a neighborhood. We're meant to
Mm.
be together, but we are, even if we can't physically be together right now, through the power of the Spirit, there is mystical union. And man, it's powerful. It's real. It's not make believe, and that's when you think about a world, especially the Western part of the world, which is so incredibly lonely and isolated, and people are so scared of relationships. They got a lot to live with and very little to live for. The Bible's always about, man, keep working on union and communion and
Mhm.
reunion and
Oh,
restoration.
love that, Jeffrey, and thank you for your your passion for this meta story um, that you've been watercolor painting here. And
Yeah.
as a sort of a pause, I would like to pick up some other time in these dialogues with how the resurrection um, plays out when I'm a jerk to Krista or Carrie or something like that,
Yeah.
and I experienced the breakdown of like relational day to day,
Hmm.
you know, fractures in this thing that I want and need, which is deep, meaningful relationships. Yeah.
Because the first thing Jesus did when he rose from the dead, he started going to greet people, saying peace. I love that when he shows up at the Sea of Tiberias, he has a fish fry with all these people who stabbed him in the back. And they
Mm.
had fun and they ate together and they drank and they talked about fishing and living, and life was coming back together. And so his resurrection is going to always push you, at least it's going to always be working on you
Mm.
to keep trying to heal this web. And we're not going to get there this side of the River Jordan, but that's the promised land he's taking us to. He's already won the victory. We got to implement, as I said earlier. We're an organization that's trying to implement this resurrection. Show
I
people,
love that.
and yeah, and
Okay.
we got to do it because we're supposed to embody the story the world needs to know and believe and follow
I
it.
love that. Embody the resurrection.
Yeah,
That's beautiful. Is that you, or is that into your right too?
I don't know. I'm sure it's. As Peter Creed said, I'd rather be good than original any day. I'm not very original, but I'm good at stealing what's good.
Hey man, well that's music right there. Hey, well
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jeffrey.
Love you dearly.
And let me know what you think as this thing is coming together. And
It's unbelievable music.
thank you.
It'll help you sing the story that'll make your soul and life sing.